Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to your very own Husky Dash once again, where you can find all of the commentary you didn't know you needed. I'm Joseph Claypoole at 9 3/4, joined by again at Nathan Mathisen, and today we're going to be discussing student athletes playing in the spring, the top three that showed up in the PFF top 50, and who needs the biggest performance out of those three, and lastly, the middle linebacker job fight. Who's going to take it? Who's a shoe-in? And who might lose it? First up, though, we're going to just briefly run over some really quick non-segment news that has popped up in the last week. First and foremost, the NFL has COVID-19 testing setbacks following several false positives. Herschel Walker endorsed Trump at the RNC. The University of Alabama has reported 560 positive COVID-19 cases since classes resumed on August 19th. And lastly, big news. Thank you, Nathan, for delivering this to me. Four-star tight end Jack Yeri just committed to UW last night. So that's big news. And it's pretty exciting. So Sorry to all the USC and California fans out there, but he's at the University of Washington now. Nathan, would you kindly run us into our first segment?
Yep. So we're going to be talking about the student athletes, and the NCAA just basically gave all fall sports athletes a fifth year, kind of a free year of eligibility. So this year won't count necessarily. And then they also made it so for next year's scholarship, there's no limit. So usually for football, there's 85 scholarships allowed, and next year that won't affect them. And so this, I look at it as a short-sighted, short-term fix by the NCAA, as really it's going to just create a logjam in the future with the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors all possibly wanting to return for their fifth season, but the scholarship limit's going to be back, so that'll create trouble with just incoming freshman classes maybe being shortened or them not allowing the fifth year. But then back to like kind of the question at hand is, should certain players now opt out of this season because they've got that extra year of eligibility? So your opinion?
Yeah, I absolutely think they should opt out. I mean, it really comes down to a decision that they have to make. I'm not saying I want everyone to know I'm not saying every college football player right now should opt out. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that after taking the time to discuss it with the relevant people, whether that be themselves, just with their family, with their coaches or other like teammates, they need to discuss their options, realize that the NCAA is offering a get out of jail free card. Oh my gosh, sorry. They're offering a get out of jail free card, and these student athletes, and keyword there being student, that comes first before athlete. These student athletes need to realize, like, this is your get out of jail free card. Use it if you must, or save it. I mean, it's certainly a case by case basis.
And I understand that. Looking at it, certain players might want to use it if they have like a pre-existing something like asthma and they're more at risk for it. But overall, I feel that unless you've got that like rare circumstance where you're at higher risk for this, I feel that you should go into the season ready to play, because in the end, all these players love playing football, and they play football to reach the next level, which is the NFL. And even if this season is 6 games, 8 games, or it doesn't happen fully, just being out on the football field, it gives them a shot to improve their chance to make the NFL. So I feel that most players, if not all of them, should just go into the season and play it. Because you look at it, these schools have top class medical facilities, and there's top medical people who will protect them against getting COVID. And if they get it, they'll have the treatment available to them. And then they'll still have that eligibility if they get COVID in the middle of the season and have to miss the season, which would be unfortunate.
I mean, it's great they still have eligibility, but like once you get COVID, there's a whole list of medical problems that ensue. We don't even understand like the full extent of long-term symptoms and like conditions that come out of like contracting COVID, fighting your way through it and coming back out of it. There was a correct me if I'm wrong here, but there was some report that came out a couple of days ago about student athletes or like professional athletes who contracted COVID, got over it, and then came out of it with health problems, with heart problems. Like, that's long lasting. Like, sure, you have a season after that. That doesn't mean you can play it.
It's long lasting, but how many have had that? Like, what's the occurrency of that really?
We don't know.
Yeah, see, it's rare though. It's rare because there's not There's
You know what
not
isn't
that
rare?
many.
You know what's not rare? And this is like worldwide. It's a universal truth. This isn't rare. People are stupid. Like it came out in the third non-segment news we just released was that University of Alabama in 4 or 5 days had 560 positive COVID tests. It's your first week of school and there's 560 people testing positive.
Yeah, and
Oh my gosh.
that's down there right now. But we're looking at it. I mean, UW, they've already canceled this season, so they're going to have time to look at these conferences like the ACC, the Big 12, the SEC, and look at what they're doing for their COVID preventions. And Pac-12 should be in a better situation as they'll learn from those mistakes and change, hopefully, how they're protecting against it and what they're using.
Your optimism in the human race is applause worthy. Absolutely applause worthy. I just wanted to point something out here. The U.S. is currently, or at least very close to, if not the leading country in terms of the world for positive COVID tests. And that's scary when you think about there are countries in the world right now who have 0 ongoing cases of COVID, and the U.S. is still leading by thousands upon thousands upon thousands. I don't know how optimistic you can possibly be to think that between now and springtime, somehow, a vast majority, if not a majority or all of the population of the United States somehow gets their stuff together and says, hey, you know what? Like life, like caring about people, kindness, all of these things, like, hey, let's be smart and let's get rid of this disease before we start things up.
Well, I'm not that optimistic, but I like to look at it as the Pac-12 has some of the best medical schools. So
Yes.
they're leading in that field, like UW, especially with their testing.
Hey, we go to one.
Yeah. I look at it as if they could have a different season kind of, in the spring. And there's probably about 150 people total, including the players, coaches, and personnel on a college football team. If they could test them every single player weekly, every single person weekly, if not every couple days. And I get that it'll cost a lot of money, but then if that's what it takes to play a season, where then the school will be making that much money and more off the season, why not do that?
I mean, okay, let me ask you this question. Who has more money than the Pac-12 or any college football league? Just some related company that has more money than us. The NFL. The NFL has more money than us. And you know what they just ran into? It's a problem. We just announced it on our show, actually.
Yeah.
They can't tell the difference between false positives and actual positives.
Well, they ran into that, but they're proven. They fixed that issue. They retested and came back all negative. So with time comes improvements in that type of stuff.
I don't know. I'd like to hope so. Before we jump into our next segment, I just want to say that for any athletes watching, for any athletes who end up listening to this, Nathan and I have both been discussing this for a very long time, and ultimately it comes down to player safety. If you don't feel safe, don't do it. If you feel safe, go ahead, try it out. Because bottom line is, if you're dead, you can't play football. If you're alive, then you can go ahead and kick the ball around or throw it as much as you want. That really just debates football, which is a big sport I'm a fan of. So sorry, I didn't mean to take it down to that level. But in terms of football, which this show is all about, we just had a PFF top 50 ranking heading into the preseason of the season for college football. And in those top 3, we had Elijah Molden. I'm so sorry for this name. Levi Onwuzurike and Trent McDuffie. Nathan, who do you think out of those 3 people needs to have the biggest performance this upcoming season, if we have one, to ensure team success?
I would put it squarely on Levi Onwuzurike, as he's a leader on the defense. He's been vocal in the offseason, and he's a defensive lineman, and last year's struggles for the Huskies were in the running game. They couldn't stop the run really. Levi had a great season, kind of grade-wise. I looked at it, as you said, PFF's got him now at 29th in this season, and he was actually ranked last season as the 29th best player in college football by them, and he graded out great, top 10 at nose tackle position and defensive tackle position, the only player with top 10 grades in each of those. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. I mean, he was mocked going out. He was supposed to leave the Huskies last year, go to the NFL. He was supposed to be a first-round pick. But then you look at his stats, and his stats don't back up all these grades, really, in my opinion. He had 45 tackles, but then he only had 6 tackles for a loss and only 2 sacks. Like, that's not your leader on defense. Should be getting more impact plays, more plays in the backfield, I feel. And that's where he can improve. And if he can improve that, the Huskies defense can vastly improve. You look at some of these games, like against Oregon. Oregon was a key game the Huskies were playing. They were 25th ranked. Oregon was like 12th ranked, I'd want to say. The Husky offense was playing great, but the Husky defense couldn't stop Justin Herbert. They couldn't even touch him. They had 0 sacks that game. So the Huskies have to get pressure if they want to win these games.
I mean, yeah, you've listed all fair points, and it's funny because the one bad thing I have listed for Levi here is where does he improve? I mean, yes, he's ranked 29th. He has 28 positions he can climb up to get to number 1, but I mean, he only missed 4 of his 95 career tackles. He's only missed 4. And I just don't see where you can improve much from that other than like intangibles. I don't know how you improve intangibles. Like play Sudoku. That's what I do.
I see him just improving and getting into the backfield and making plays on the quarterback. Like he did great.
You know who did do great and does have room to improve and can have a standout performance season that is going to change team success is Elijah Molden. 21st in the PFF. I mean, I have a stat sheet here that would scare my English teacher for an essay assignment. In the past 2 seasons, he's the second best slot coverage grade in the FBS. And he's first for forced incompletions with 21, and second is 6 below him at 15. In the 2019 season alone, this man is first in the FBS for pass stops at 26. Second place is 9 below him in a season for pass stops. He can cover the deep, he can cover the short, he can cover the outs, the ins, the slants. He can cover all over the field. And on top of that, he's a nice person. He's a very nice person, actually. He just took the time out. I don't remember when this happened, but he took the complete time out of his day to go thank a young Husky fan named Asen. Happy birthday, belated birthday, by the way, Asen, if you're watching this, and promised him gloves and a picture. Now, of course, there's going to be downfalls. You're going to have a counter argument. I can already point it out. He gave up 21 first downs. I mean, in context, that's 84 free downs pretty much that he gave up, as well as 210 yards of play if you like overestimate the numbers there. But what I love about this question that we're talking about is who needs the biggest performance and who needs the biggest improvement, right? That biggest improvement there, if he cuts down those 21 free first downs that he gave out last season, that's 210 yards of play that we get back, and that's 84 downs that we then get to run on offense. That improvement alone is going to skyrocket our chance and our stock of hitting playoffs and going to a bowl game. I want to say Elijah Molden, if he pops off this season, we're good to go.
Well, he did pop off last season. You listed how he's top ranked in all these pass deflections and all these different stats. But yet again, the defense did struggle at certain times, but then they were good in the pass, like you said. I mean, he played great, but they weren't good in the run game. And that was the main struggle I felt. And that's why I feel that Levi, he has to be the guy who he can take the Huskies to the next level. He'll be the one who can take them there if he can make actual pressure. Like you look at guys like who he's compared to Javon Kinlaw, who was South Carolina, I believe, and he's in the NFL now. And Javon Kinlaw's the knock on him was his stats weren't great. But Javon Kinlaw's stats are better than Levi's. And as Javon Kinlaw had only 35 tackles, 6 for a loss, 6 sacks. So he had more sacks, and that was a knock on Javon Kinlaw. Levi didn't get a knock on that for some reason. So Levi's got to improve at that if he wants to make the Huskies better as a team overall, stopping teams on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th down. And that'll also help him. So Levi's got no reason not to want to improve. He can skyrocket his draft position even higher. He was coming in last season leaving last season as a top 30 pick in the NFL. he's going to want to improve. He hit the weight room. I saw lots of videos of him working out and just trying to improve, which should help him stay strong in the run game, make an impact, and just raise his draft stock even higher. He could be a top 10 pick, I'd say, if he has an impact season, not only grade wise, but also stats. He's got to stuff the stat sheet.
I mean, you know what? Yes, I'm going to say it. You're right. If he improves, the team will have better success. And the only reason that's true is because if any player on your team improves, you will experience greater success. I'm saying that for full team success, to go to a bowl game and win it, I mean, you said it. Elijah Molden had a standout season last year with 21 free first downs for other teams.
Yeah, if Elijah improves, that's the team's going to improve as well. But what I look at, I don't think Elijah has as far to go as Levi can go. I looked at Elijah Molden, and I would go out on a limb and say he was the best Husky player last year on the team. Not just on the defense. I think he was the best overall player the Huskies had from his impact.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he is ranked 21st above every other UW player.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rank him up there above like Jacob Eason was. I think he had a better impact. And so I don't see him being able to get to that next level. I think he's...
Yeah, because he's already there.
Well, yeah. So Levi, though, I see Levi is improving. I don't think Levi's
improving where? You just said his stats are terrible. Yeah. Where does he improve?
Well, his stats aren't good, so he can improve them. He can get to the quarterback.
There. He's consistently not good. Like, sure, there's like a slope here that's going upwards, but I mean, it's not crazy.
Well, Levi's stats he's graded out high, right?
You know what? You show me intangibles. You show him applying pressure every single play, and I'll say, yeah, you know what? Levi, if he can keep doing that, he's going to show great success. His draft stock's going to rise and you get drafted first round. But right now, his slope there is just not big enough. It's just a linear slope. He needs exponential. He needs to go up. He needs to go up. I'm saying Elijah Molden can go up.
You think where's Elijah going to improve? Just at that allowing first downs?
First downs. The man has everything else.
Well, how's he improving at that? Just better. What?
Yeah,
better.
He honestly he needs to work on his downhill running towards run plays. His run snaps were good. They're not great. I mean, if he had as good a run game defense, run game stoppage as he does his pass game, I mean, he would have been ranked first. He would be up there right now. And that's what he needs to change is he needs to be a little more aggressive on the run stops, and he needs to stop giving up first downs. What can help the defense, though, and Nathan, I know you're here to introduce this next segment, our last segment, our most exciting segment on this week's episode. Something about the middle linebacker job fight, Nathan. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm really intrigued with this. I mean, last year, all Husky fans know middle linebacker was a position of struggle. So we had Brandon Wellington and Kyler Manu. They were both seniors, and they're both gone now. And that most times that's a bad thing when you lose two senior middle linebackers. But I'm one who thinks it's positive because, quite frankly, they were struggling. They were one of the main reasons, besides that interior D line, for the run game issues. I mean, they were blowing past the reads. They couldn't take on guards. They just weren't strong enough. So I feel that getting a fresh start at middle linebacker could help the Huskies out a lot. And so I know that both of us, first I'll just introduce them a bit more. So there's 9 scholarship linebackers. There's 3 walk-ons.
So many.
So there's a lot. And I feel that it'll probably be at the start of the year at least, there's a battle for the 9. The 9 scholarship, those are the only guys who probably have a shot at it off the bat. But later on, those walk-ons could make an impact. But I'm more interested in this position battle, I feel, than the quarterback battle, actually, which most people probably like the quarterback battle. But
I'm more excited about this one too.
I like this one just because there's so many players who could win the job, and it's going to be such a close battle. Like, there's probably 6 of them who have a realistic shot at the job. And I know both of us are high on one of the guys. You want to start off with him?
Yeah, you're making me pronounce his name.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Edifuan Ulo-Foshio. I looked up your name on Google and I tried to find a pronunciation for it. I could not. However, your nickname is Eddie U, and so that's what I'm going to be going with for the rest of this episode. Insane. He had 214 run snaps at 35.7% pressure on the ball, and he had a 2.8% defeat rate. So that's third or fourth downs of switching, that's third or fourth downs where you switch the ball over on a turnover. He only started the final 3 games last season, but on his first start, he had 9 tackles and 1.5 sacks and he was the defensive player of the week. I mean, he stepped up to the plate when he had a chance to start, when he had a chance to play. And I mean, his stats really just speak for themselves. 47 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble in as few of games as some of these other players. And he seems to only have room to go upwards. That's why I'm excited about him. And I definitely think that for one of those inside linebacker jobs, it's his to lose.
Yeah, it's definitely his to lose, and he's worked so hard for this, as he's basically bet on himself. He's the ultimate underdog, you could say. I mean, he moved from Alaska to Las Vegas his senior year of high school, and he got no recognition. He moved to a team in Las Vegas that also had a 5-star recruit who's at USC now. I can't remember his name, but that recruit even said how he tried to steer it. He's pointing towards his teammate. You need to check out this guy. You need to start looking at him because he's going to be something. He's got the determination and everything. And at the end of his senior season, he had only 2 scholarship offers. Only 2. And I'm not talking about D1 schools. Those were to Northern Arizona and Robert Morris. I don't know where Robert Morris College is. And I guess he didn't want to go there because he ended up walking on at UW. He was a preferred walk-on, and he worked his way, practiced hard, and it was rewarded in his second season. He got the start after an injury to Kyler Manu, and he never looked back. I mean, his name, saw it, Edfuan means the sun has risen, and Ulafacio means not afraid of war. And Eddie Yu is going to be going in a position battle like a war for his spot. And hopefully at the end of it, the sun has finally risen for him and he gets the recognition that he deserves and gets the starting spot.
I'd like to extend that further and say perhaps the sun's just rising on a legacy at UW now, because he's going to be the start to an amazing defensive core at UW.
He's got a good name to start it, Eddie Yu.
It's great. The next person, though, that I think is taking this is MJ Tafisi. He's going to take that second spot. I know you have Josh Calvert listed there, and that was your pick, Josh Calvert. But Tafisi, I was watching through his film. I was reading through his bios, what coaches have to say about him, what his high school coaches had to say about him, like the things he does to train and how he plays. First and foremost, it reminds me of a friend I used to play with through middle school and high school, a kid named Anthony Leato. His brother went to Oregon, died in a terrible car crash at the age of 22. Rest in peace to him. That was a really sad time. But Anthony's playing at Eastern Washington now as a safety. The kid goes downhill 24/7. He always runs at 110% speed, and he's selfless. He throws out big hits 24/7, and he's always selfless. And that's what Tafisi reminds me of, is this kid who's going to come in. He's going to be 110% on the ball. And he's going to be selfless. He's going to play selfless. He already has been playing selfless, and he's going to be the second pick in there for inside linebacker.
So I like Tafisi too. Like I said, there's 6 guys.
You like them? Then let's take them.
Well, there's 6 guys who I feel could have it, and I just put Josh Calvert a bit ahead of him. I look at Josh Calvert almost as the opposite of Eddie Yu. Josh Calvert's a guy who comes in with these accolades. He's a 4-star from California. He was the 15th ranked inside linebacker in his class. He's got all the praise. Eddie Yu has nothing. But I think Josh Calvert's got he's like a prototypical size, 6'2". He's a little light at 220. I'd like him to put on more weight, but that'll come with time.
Yeah.
So Josh Calvert's a redshirt freshman, and he actually was an early enrollee last year, and he was planning on not redshirting. He had a great spring camp. The linebacker coach Bob Gregory at UW said how he was looking at him for more of a special teams role to start and maybe transforming into a linebacker role towards the end of the season. Especially with the injuries, he probably would have had a good shot. But unfortunately, Josh Calvert got injured his knee, and that ended his freshman season, but it gave him a red shirt. So now he's got 4 more years, or I guess 5 now with the extra year of eligibility. And Josh Calvert, I know he trained hard in the offseason, and he's he's who they need up the middle to stop the run. Eddie is more of a speed guy, and Josh is more of a head at the guard and blow up a play.
Nathan, who's your favorite linebacker?
Favorite linebacker
All time. Just who's your favorite
all
linebacker?
time?
Yeah.
I'd have to go with Ray Lewis.
Mine's The Water Boy. Do you know that movie?
For Adam Sandler?
Yes, sir. That is my favorite linebacker of all time. And you know who MJ Tafisi is like just literally the physical real life embodiment of? He is the physical embodiment of the Water Boy. He's just a little smaller. I mean, not a little smaller. Sorry. He's a lot smarter and actually a real life person. Tafisi is a real life Water Boy with the IQ of a genuine college student. And he's going to go in there and he's going to take high risks, which is, of course, what we saw in some of his starts and snaps that he took in this last season, where, I mean, he had a horrendous missed tackle percentage. But I mean, that's also because like he's just not getting the playing time. He practices up and he drops that tackle percentage, and then his forced fumbles, his forced turnovers are going to grow, and he's just going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get faster, and he's going to outplay Josh Calvert and take the spot if he doesn't get it at the start of the season.
I look at MJ Tafisi as he's a heavy hitter, right? He's a headhunter, I like to call him.
He's a big guy and he hits hard. It's
what you want, but the headhunter aspect of him, I feel those guys usually they're stuck with it. They don't if he's a headhunter, he usually doesn't, because he wants to make the big play. That's what he wants. And so I don't see him improving his tackling enough to warrant him to get that starting spot over Josh Calvert. So I like him. I think he's probably going to be great. He's a great special teams guy. Like, I kind of compare him to a former UW player, Ezekiel Turner, who I loved watching him play because he was one of the biggest hitters out there. And I love that. The crowd loves that. Everybody loves a big hitter. But when it costs you a 3rd and 5, he comes in on a screen pass, whiffs the ball carrier, and he gets 20 yards and a first down. Is it worth the possibility for a big play?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, it's worth it. High risk, high reward. If you don't go for the apple, you're not going to get the apple. Shout out to Apple Cup. We're going to win this year. But, I mean, I'm just saying, MJ Tafisi, he missed a lot of last season due to an injury, and next year it was during the Arizona game. And that dropped him out. But as that season was progressing and those games were going on, he was getting more and more playing time. The coaches were like, you know what? It's okay that you're missing a couple of tackles, because the plays where you do get a forced fumble, where you do get a forced turnover, and when you do make those big plays, they more than make up for it. And they know that with time, he will eventually drop that missed tackle percentage. I mean, the kid had like less starts than almost everyone else on the team for inside linebacker, and some of his stats were higher than the starters all season.
Well, those starters were nothing special.
Oh my god! Like, he played 4 or 5 games, something crazy like that, and he still had better stats than everyone else. You don't get that with an average player. You get that with a kid like MJ Bobby Boucher Tafisi.
Yeah,
Tafisi, if you're listening, I would love to help pay for a legal name change to Bobby Boucher. Just
and you look at that. I mean, I agree with you. He's got great high risk.
Perfect.
Yeah, high risk. So I would actually say, I mean, they'll probably use the Huskies. They'll probably use a package. They'll probably use multiple linebackers because of how many they have. So I could easily see Tafisi, Calvert, Eddie Yu, and maybe 1 or 2 other guys getting quite a bit of playing time, especially at the start of the year. And then probably towards the end of the year, they'll have a more defined role for who fights through the pack and who performs in the games.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, outside of the realm of entertainment commentary and whatnot, he's absolutely going to fit into that rotation. I mean, it's just smart to have 3, 4, 5 linebackers you can rotate in and out on snaps to just get as many of them going in there as possible. And to just wrap up really quick, I want to point out that we may have mildly slighted Trent McDuffie, who was 47th on the PFF top 50 list. He had a standout season as a freshman. He made that top 50 list, which is insane. I didn't want to really touch on him because it was about who needed to improve and have a standout season. The kid already had a standout season. He's already improving. I mean, the kid's going to play great.
He's got another 2 years here.
You blow up the game. Do your best. I also want to point out, thank you to Damien for that comment. I'm not really happy with the comment itself, but I'm happy you commented, so thank you. Okay, I want to thank everyone who showed up. Maybe not Damien if he comments like that again, but it's very appreciated. Again, I'm Joseph Claypoole, and this is Nathan Mathisen. You can follow us on our different social medias with our ats that are on screen at the moment. You can follow Dashsports on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Dashsports TV. Don't forget to catch the best clips from today's episode at dashsports.tv, the website, along with clips, quips, streaming schedules, and full episodes from every school in the Pac-12. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. This is Husky Dash signing off.